Hey, how's it going? Hi, Chief. Hello. Hey. Mary Jane, we're going to start in a minute.
Brian's not here yet.
I would like to welcome everybody to the City of Idaho Springs, July 24th, 2023 work session. It's now 6:30. We only have one thing on the agenda for the work session. And it is about the Mighty Argo Cable project update.
Mayor and council, staff met with the Argo team last week, who we call MAC. Okay. Sounds good. Is that better? That is it. Yeah, that's.
No, we're, okay, Andy. We're on, Brian. Get over here.
So this way.
Okay, good. We'll see you in a sec. All right, bye.
Thank you.
He was confused. I talked to you about the agenda earlier.
I was talking about.
Okay, good.
Carmen has joined us online too, everyone.
Oh, good.
So I don't even have that in front of me at the moment, so.
I'm trying to pull mine up.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry.
I will get mine.
Yeah, I think you can proceed if you'd like. Yeah, Jonathan, we only have the one item.
Yeah.
And it is with the Argo update. And there's kind of a critical item for them to proceed and stay on track with this retaining wall.
Correct.
Which, by the way, from everything even we saw on the site visit, it is the exact same plans that were approved a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So nothing, same problem.
And I would like to start by introducing Zach, Mary Jane Lovely, one of the owners of the Mighty Argo Cable Car project. Brian, our development partner, will be here to actually present the details of the construction, but we are really happy to be instigating the construction, recommencing the construction of the car. And we just have some critical path items that we need to happen. And once we begin construction again, our goal is to be operational 14 months after, which was always the intent. We lost our money, so we'll be happy to give other updates on.
Mayor and council, the specific ask in front of you tonight is related to the retaining wall that is holding up the building that you see in the picture on the front page of the staff report and some of the access road that is through that building. This wall is pretty critical for the overall project because they can't put utilities in and they can't do a couple of other construction things until it's completely finished. So what we have done as staff is went back and looked at the FTP and the relevant review processes that are required for this project left. And we think that it is possible for the Argo team to go ahead and build that wall, so long as a couple of things happen. One is we are going to need to annex a couple of remaining properties to be able to do that without having county approval for that. And Mary Jane has submitted an annexation request for that property, so I think that one is pretty much no problem. The second one is there is one of the FTP conditions was a letter of compliance from the Colorado Geologic Survey, and that letter needs to be approved for the overall project. However, I think we can, Carmen may speak to this a little bit more, but we may be able to have them review the part that's pertinent to this wall construction so that we know that it's satisfied and that the wall won't create a bad situation in regard to that survey. And then the final one is that they just need to have the project reviewed and approved by the. So those are the three conditions we have. Carmen, would you be willing to talk a little bit about your feelings on the survey We had a question about whether it would be okay to have them have the top section, the foundation wall reviewed by, or, you know, just the parts relevant to that, or if it would be better for the FTP to have the whole document approved.
Yeah, hi, Mayor and Council. Hi, Mary Jane. Hi, all. As you will see, if you looked at your packet, Mayor and Council, the resolution that you have in your packet has essentially the 3 recommended conditions in John's staff report. However, condition number 2 concerning the Colorado Geologic Survey comments, the resolution is written so that those CGS comments that are only relevant to this particular work, if council is amenable to permitting this particular work to continue. I think it is acceptable if CGS is willing, and if there are any issues even implicated, right, which is question number 1. I don't know that if CGS would have comments on this, but if they do, I think it's reasonable and acceptable if council is, again, willing to allow this particular piece of development to occur. It's okay to sort of bifurcate those things and ask for those comments and ensure that those comments that are relevant, again, only to this particular work, be addressed as a condition of this allowance. I think that's reasonable and fair.
So that's my staff report. Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about the project and this specific portion of it?
Sure. I mean, do you want an update first on where things are at council? Sorry, but I was thinking, I had the agenda, I was 7 o'clock in the work session. Pleasure. Would you like an update on overall project status first? To add some context? Is it helpful? Yeah.
I gave a really 30-second one. I'm back
Okay.
here.
Thank you. So, as you know, I think we've been working, Mary Jane and I, for the last 2 years to right the ship and to secure financing and create new capital structures and all that stuff. The mayor and Andy have been involved in a lot of meetings in the last 6 to 8 months with our new capital partners. So we are, we're ready to go now. We've got an incredible group of equity partners. We know about Perry Shea and Gonwell Ventures, who is Mary Jane and my partner now in our new entity, which is called Myers Point Ventures. So the upper land is Myers Point now. And we created this new LLC to bring in the new capital structure. We have a group from Europe who's investing $23 million. A $25 million USDA loan term sheet signed and submitted the application 2 weeks ago. So we have been rallying the troops here, working with the city to talk about permitting, resurrect the plan approval process, which is why we're here tonight, and also with our consultant team to get them teed up, ready to go. So the project is recommencing. We expect to have clarification in the next 2 to 3 weeks about the final timing for the project.
And I just want to add that we've almost doubled the cost of the project with COVID and everything else. So it's another lost revenue, doubling the cost of the project. We're climbing up a very steep hill, but we're at the top.
And that's true, but to our credit, we always were conservative on income projection side. Give an example, our ticket price in our original performance was $18 per ticket. We looked at the overall, there's like 6 or 7 point of interest in Gonwell, North America. The average ticket price is $35, right? So we're way below that. So we've increased our price to $30, which is still below the average. To see this guy, Gonwell and Squamish between Whistler and Vancouver is probably the best by far comp for our project. You think about, this gear is north of Vancouver and Denver and Vail in the mountains, very similar, right? And they're doing $45 US tickets right now. And they do 400,000 riders per year. So which is, less than we're projecting, but we have twice the demographics that Vancouver has. So the project's still fully viable despite the cost. I guess it's a message, right? Specific to this request tonight for the foundation and retaining wall approvals, we've been spending a lot of time with our contractors up on the mountain, and it's clear now that. And John, do you have those two, the PDF I sent you? Okay. Sorry, I didn't follow you. Confirm you had received.
I did, they're up.
So this is the exchange building, now called the Outpost building, which I think is our final airport. And then go to the next slide. So on the left is the Exchange Building. That orange line, sorry, I'm having this, let's scroll down a little bit. On the left, that orange line is the retaining wall in question tonight. So that wall serves two functions. It is a retaining wall for the earthwork and utilities behind it on the access road that runs through the site. It's also a bearing wall for the structure, for the building itself. So it's a dual purpose, kind of an elegant structural solution. But you can make the argument that it's part of the site work because we cannot complete the utilities and the grading for the road unless that wall is built. So that's why we're here tonight to ask you to consider just that wall permit. We are still going to be 100% subject to the conditions of the FDP prior to final building permit issuance. That's what we agreed to. This is just a way for us to get started and ensure that we can maximize what's left of the summer construction schedule, which is, quickly going by here, mid-July, late July right now, and allow us to hopefully open in late 24. Back to the capital structure real quick. So once we have this deemed complete notice from the USDA, our equity flows in and we can pay our consultants restart and also pay the city the $4,000 weekend outstanding. So that's important.
It's like any moment now.
Well, I had a conversation with our consultants today. It's hard for me to say she's right.
I know.
Our
it just
letters
hurts
told
us.
us 2 to 3 weeks, expect that, but until it's done, it's not done.
Right.
So just to put that qualification on it, it's important because we don't control it. We submitted, we've met the test and everything they've asked us to deliver, we delivered. I think we're going to get done, but it's not, so it's done, it's not.
I would just like to add, as Brian said, we have been meeting with the mayor and Andy and John as well with our team and our capital partners throughout the process. But there are things we haven't been able to make public because of who our capital partners may be, et cetera, et cetera. So we've asked for being very quiet about this.
And I'll add one thing that's important to understand too. Thanks. You're right.
Yeah.
As usual, we've signed construction contracts with our contractors. So we've committed to them and they're going out to the submarket. But there's a horizon on that approval until we have financing and we're under construction. So committing this wall will allow us to secure the concrete subcontractors pricing and the structural steels pricing, his contractor's pricing. The market's still totally volatile out there, right? It's pricing is not going down. There's been historic escalation over the last 2 years. It's something everybody knows, and probably a lot of you felt it in this room as well. So that's another indication of viability and commitment to move the project forward so we can maintain our pricing and not have any further escalation. That's kind of a secondary issue tonight. This one is important to understand.
Just one more comment, because I always have to talk about our local investors, family and friends, people that they've all been incredibly patient and are all on board with this project. Just they're happy to see us finally be able to get the construction again.
Council, any questions?
I do.
Yes, Art?
Originally, what you're asking to do now in one process, where in two-stage process, you have to do it.
Well, to be more specific, please,
Well,
about which part of the process?
You're asking us to short circuit the process.
I am asking for your consideration for the permit issuance, which is technically a building permit. John?
Just to say, we not maybe necessarily commonly, but projects have been divided that way before. It depends on the context of the situation, but typically what the process is they get the building permit, and if the building permit is valid, then it's okay. What makes this a little bit different is there's FTP conditions attached to the overall project. But as Carmen said, on the one, there is some flexibility in the language about how we satisfy those conditions. There was a modification of the original FTP that put some of the conditions on certificate of occupancy instead of on building permit issuance. And so that's why when we did the staff analysis here, we think that the construction of this wall is kind of in line with our processes, even though it's a little bit out of order just because of the savings on mobilization costs that they have. And And they're still gonna have to have everything reviewed, this and everything like that, so. Just kind of,
We talk about language, it says while the FPP explicitly states, explicitly means, let me have a clear understanding of what we're saying. And what it's saying, the project has quality complete conditions explicitly, and now we're changing.
no, sir,
No,
Why?
no, sir, we're
Well,
not.
there you are.
No, sir.
You're gonna do something before the 12 are satisfied.
Well, no, we're not.
Well, explicitly means that exactly.
And I will, I just am telling you that what's happening is that the FTP conditions will all be met. Some of them are on certificate of occupancy. Some of them have a little bit of flexibility in how they're done, but they can't occupy the building without fully completing and satisfying the conditions of the FTP. This wall will have to be reviewed for as a foundation wall as well, which means that SafeBuilt needs to look at the plans for the building as well. That will sit on that wall.
But you're allowing one, the other others are still not being done, right? So one's coming.
Yes, sir.
Okay, would that have, so this is the first one that they will have it satisfied. If it was 2.5 years ago, this is the first thing they will.
Well, if they're the city, another way this often happens is we'll issue excavation and grading permits before all of the permitted work is completed, just to help make sure that projects are expedited in terms of mobilization. And so that's another way that we do that sometimes. So this is not out of the ordinary of what we typically and ordinarily do. It's just that this project is very complex and has multiple geographic locations within a 5-mile range. And so in my analysis and my recommendation, I believe we can meet all of the FTP conditions that are required while still allowing them to construct this wall so that they can mobilize their construction in such a way that it's feasible.
So you don't use the word I'm sure. You say I think.
I made a staff recommendation. I put my professional reputation on the line
I'm
to
not
say that.
questioning
So
question, what was written.
I know I wrote it.
Okay, and so you use the word explicit,
Yes, I did.
saying, I'm making myself clear that these 12 have to be satisfied.
And they will be. I would not allow a project to continue if I thought that the FTP conditions would not be satisfied.
and I would always say this from our side that, and the city has to confirm this, that we feel strongly that we met 10 of the 12 conditions. Like we submitted. There's a lot of back and forth 2 years ago to document this. We have a letter from Barb Cole that says satisfied upon recordation, right? And so
We've got a lot of check.
all that has happened. So now we have 2 conditions left that are relative to building permit issuance. As John said, a couple relative to wastewater treatment and water are relative to certificate of occupancy and not building permit. So as far as the 2 conditions that are still outstanding are relative to building permit, and that's a CDS letter and the annexation.
Okay, so in this paragraph, it should have stated that it should have stated, it's stated the way it's stated, so it's still outstanding. The way I read it.
No, I didn't write that, sir, and it's not read like that either. One of the things that I did when I wrote the staff report,
It's simple language here.
yeah, I wrote it, so I think I can say what I wrote.
You can tell me what you meant to write.
No, I can tell you what I
I can
did.
tell you the way I'm interpreting it.
Can I ask a question? Let me jump in, because this might be relevant to what you're asking.
Okay.
Is this processor here, this approving this retaining wall, going to present to anybody else that might have a development coming up in the community of Idaho Springs and saying, well, these guys got fast tracked and I'm not? Is that gonna, I just wanna
No,
put that on record that that's
My-
not gonna be an issue.
my original staff report, I included analysis of each condition of the FTP, but it's really not. I ended up deciding that that wasn't really the ask. There's an update on all the FTP conditions. As Brian said, 10 of the 12 conditions have, well, really 9 of the 12 conditions have been met. One of them will be met when Mary Jane finishes her annexation. The other ones are related to certificate of occupancy that came about through the resolution.
Still not answering my question.
I know.
Do you think it's gonna
That's
be a
what
process, a conflict of
That's what
interest in the future
Can I
with any
respond?
other development? that
I think
this
there's
looks
no other
like it?
development like ours.
I absolutely, I 100% agree, that's absolutely true.
We're not doing anything different.
Well, all I'm saying is
There's no
that's all I wanted for you guys to
It's a
say.
good question, but no, like, I
Very
can't
much.
think of any of these projects that will look at ours and say, gosh.
But anybody can feel like they don't get the same recognition as
100%.
anybody else.
I'll add-
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, one more thing,
Yeah.
one more thing, at this point here, it's important to know. the CGS letter, which is kind of the critical threshold right now in terms of the final condition, in my opinion. The annexation is gonna happen, she submitted everything. There's no, that's not contested. The CGS, in my opinion, it won't be an issue, but it's a process. And that takes some time. And so we submitted our geotechnical engineer's response to the CGS's letter. And just to clarify, this is super technical, but that letter was 100% focused on debris flow, avalanche, rock fall, and the constructability on the waste rock pile, all of which are down in the lower landing, none of which are on top of the mountain where the retaining walls. So the CGS letter, while critical, and we will address it and satisfy the city engineer as required in the FDP conditions, does have no bearing on the wall. This doesn't work. That's on top of the mountain, literally. And there's no risk for avalanche or rock fall or anything like that up on top, right? So that's just an important clarification to give the council some time.
As Carmen stated, that letter will be reviewed as it is relevant to this particular building.
To that point, I'll just add that the plans that we went back and forth here this last week with the Safeco to clarify this. Plans that I resubmitted a month ago to Safeco are the exact same plans that they previously reviewed and approved. Nothing's been changed. I have a letter from the architect from last week that confirms all that. So the plans that Safeco is going to review and approve again are the same plans they approved before. Right, and so that review is going to be somewhat perfunctory. In fact, Dan sent an email saying plan approved. So I don't think there's much issue there as far as the plan approval is. It's really about the sequencing issue, to your point, about pulling this retaining wall permit ahead of the rest of the permits. You're exactly right. It is a step that was not contemplated in the MDP. That's why we're here to make that request. Because it'll help us get this thing built faster, and get it open and operating soon. That's why we're.
So you agree with what I said?
Pardon me?
You agree with what I said?
Well, I agree that it's Jonathan said it's flexibility, just like Carmen did, and I agree with that. But if you want to get really technical, and to pull a building permit, we had to amend all those conditions. You're right.
No, that's not true. Some of the conditions were based on certificate of occupancy and there were
Specific to
other,
building permit, John.
Yeah.
You're right.
yeah, they were not all relevant because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do this.
Right.
And the other thing that is relevant is council has the authority through resolution to modify the FTP if it is believed that it is a better course of action to do so. And you have already acted so once on this particular FTP.
Well, just one other thing, John, I wasn't questioning your professionalism, I was questioning the language. Every time I question you, take the question as far as I'm questioning you, was questioning what was said here, that's all.
I know.
You know, I respect what you do, say it, tell it back, so. Don't be that.
I apologize. I'm not trying to take it personally. I'm just trying to tell you what I was trying to say.
You're not telling me how I read it.
Okay, I apologize.
You don't need to.
All right, John, any questions? No, Jimmy?
No, back to the rates, I think that so first $18, correct, for
Was.
yeah, right, was. And current, they made 39.
And we knew we were low when we did that, but our
You-
locals all get free passes.
Right, that's one.
There you go.
Zero is still zero for the.
Yeah, zero, still zero.
No, so I was in Glenwood, a month ago or so for my son's 21st birthday. He's in the army now, and that's what he wanted to do for his 21st birthday, was go
Awesome.
up there. Yeah, cool.
Yep.
And it was, I believe, $45.
Yep.
For the ride. And then I think you had, kind of an unlimited pass to.
So just for the, that bought you rides on the.
Right, but not that new roller coaster, whatever.
Okay.
Right, there's
We were-
extra add-ons.
We were a week away from that, now that wasn't approved exactly.
But that crazy swing.
But we don't
Yeah,
have,
no,
the-
the
we
roller
don't have the
coaster.
ride to the top.
I know, but, there was a restaurant, bar, everything's up there.
It's a amusement park.
And that was nothing included there. So I just wanted to say that even that, and still with the local free thing at $30 is,
We think so too.
I think it's still kind of low.
We do too. We do
Yeah.
too. But we'll gauge things as we get into it. So I'll give it some good context here. So that's a great point. Think about that. It's a 3-hour drive to Grand Junction. Or
Glenwood.
Glenwood.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Air
it's
drive
from
fast. From Denver, it's, yeah.
So we agree there's upside, which is important to have that, because I can tell you that the costs today aren't gonna be the cost of the project. No, so to have some ability to lever additional revenue to offset cost increases, which we know will happen. We have $2.5 million of contingency, we're gonna use every penny of that.
Well, I think that, what, 30-ish?
And remember, the city gets 50 cents of every ticket.
That increase from 2 years ago is
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
Well, we never
Yeah.
promoted, we never advertised the ticket price either, ever, so no one knows that except you guys. It's like that.
Well, yeah, you know, either way, it's still what it is.
Right.
That, so we might, you know, doing that kind of, that's pretty cheap as far as the increase for 2 years ago to now.
Right.
So,
Considering our costs.
Thank you.
yeah.
We agree,
Thanks, Jimmy.
we agree with you.
You know, one other thing, I don't, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I don't think it's gonna affect our business. I know it's been negative, but both expressly, less. Those people on the market.
No, I tell you what,
I know it's, a lot of guys are not using it right now, but I just bring that up.
it's a great point. I hope that we are able to maintain our schedule where we open in the shoulder season for the winter. And have time for our operational staff to work out the kinks. We open in the summertime and we'll see. I mean, our market study, we just updated the market study, the third party consultant. They're saying between 500,000 and 700,000 people per year. The traffic study is based on 500,000. So it's, you know, and we have other partners who are telling us it's gonna take 2 or 3 years at least to ramp up that number.
But we know better.
Well, we'll see. I mean, listen, I mean, I love that the city's joined the parking structure downtown. I love all the parking availability right now in Colorado. I think that we should talk further about the shuttle system that connects the east side to the west side and all that kind of stuff. That's, look at Idaho Springs, Mary Jane's always said this, that's one big development project. Over time, it's good. It's
Brian, Mary Jane, one more thing, sorry, trying to.
No.
So I think we had talked or heard about another, like, you guys will have a kind of a special district, right?
We have one.
Or you have one currently. So the tax rate over and above our 10.55%,
Has nothing to do with going to the people that just come to Idaho.
but you're still collecting it and charging for it, right?
At the
So
cable
it-
park,
Huh?
only at the cable park.
Well, regardless, or if you're at the top, right? It's
at the
still
beer at the top, you'll pay a 1% add-on fee.
plus our tax rate.
The public doesn't pay the tax, we pay the property tax for us. So.
You're still paying sales tax, you're collecting it.
No,
But as a business, you're collecting whatever the city is.
that's how it works, absolutely.
Well, I know it, but how it works,
No,
I
you
own a
don't.
business.
I know you do.
Okay, so you're still collecting 10.55% on
Yes.
that beer you're pouring,
Yes.
plus your special.
Plus 1%.
Because we're in the city.
I understand that, but is it, do you think that people will be like, oh, no?
My perspective, I mean, so my background is commercial development for the last 21 years in Colorado. And I managed the Colorado Mills project, the Streets of South Bend project, Short Star project, Southwinds project, you know, over $1 billion right there of construction costs. Every one of those projects had a district.
Sure.
It had a PIF. Highlands Ranch, Park Meadows, every single center, big center, Belmont, in
Which
Colorado.
is still lower with the gift tax than we are here
Yeah,
without it.
true.
So.
I guess that's our issue. That's
I
our liability. If
Yeah.
people don't want to come pay 1% on a beer, then that's their choice.
understand.
Did you see that beautiful view, Jimmy?
I'm on board with it. I'm just, it's a wonder of mine that people are gonna be like, God, we're only second to Fraser in the entire state as
Yeah,
far as tax, so.
our partners sell the tax and they say, what?
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm getting
It's
at.
the mouse that roars.
It's no worry of, no,
Listen, there's
It's not
no
a
such
worry.
thing as a risk-free development deal. We understand that, right? And that's part of the
We're still here, Jimmy.
I know.
risk.
I know.
Jeremy, any questions?
Thank you, guys.
Scott?
This wall is just for mobilization and site work, is that why I asked you about?
The wall is, yeah, I would say more, it's not mobilization related. It's a site work. Put it this way, we cannot complete the work that's in the earth disturbance, which is all the civil work, the grading, the utilities, the retaining walls. We can't There are other retaining walls besides this one that are in the civil contract, in the earth disturbance permit. He can't complete that work without this one. That's a bottom line. So then you have this, what are you gonna do? You're frozen time, you can't finish the sanitary sewer, you can't finish the grading, so you can't have access. It's really important. In hindsight, maybe it should have been included in the earth disturbance permit as well, but it's a building structure. It has dual purposes, like I said earlier, it's a retaining wall for the.
Retaining, if it's just a retaining wall, you can.
If it was just a building structural wall, we wouldn't need it, but it also is a retaining wall for the site. That's why we're asking.
It's a linchpin for the site.
It's,
Well, any more questions? We will, it's 7 PM. Let's take a 5-minute comfort break and we'll reconvene with our regular session. 7:05.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. It's very much up front.
we're behind the handicap. That's how you get there.
Yes.
It's like good.
This is.
You
don't have a chair.
Well, I thought you got it. That's some sheriff skates.
It is. You know better?
I'm like a midget. I'm 5'8", and I'm like a midget.
Happy birthday. Oh, thank you. You are. Sorry.
See what I'm saying? And if I could then maybe I'd sit on my knees, but I can't.
Fortunately, I got here. Okay, here.
So you could watch the long.
Mr. Mayor.
I appreciate that.
So what about the Argo retaining wall? What should I know?
Well, it's one kind of pivotal part of this entire development because
Don't get tangled.
just the way that it is holding back the road, you gotta work done behind it. And it also is, it serves two purposes. So it's gonna be part of the foundation of that upper building.
So what we're talking about?
This actually is one of the at the top.
Okay.
Photo. Packet. This is the uppermost. Hello, I'd like to welcome everybody to Idaho Springs regular council session for July 24th, 2023. We'll call to order at 7:11. And we'll start off with roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Here.
Scott Pennell.
Here.
John Curtis.
Here.
Jeremy Jones.
Here.
Art Cacavelli.
Here.
Kit Collier.
Here.
Jim Clark.
Happily here.
All right, all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have an agenda before us tonight. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda for July 24th, 2023.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second? Second from Art. And any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone tonight feel they have a conflict of interest? All right, hearing none, we'll move along to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from July 10th, 2023.
Thank you, Art. Do I have a second? And a second from Scott. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Approval of the bills. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the bills for July 24th, 2023.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second? And a second from Jimmy. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kit Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
Tonight we have a scheduled public comment. Mary Ann, please step forward. Welcome. Glad to see you.
Can I just stand here? Yeah. I'm here to request a temporary handicap parking area by my house. In August, I'm going to have a replacement ankle, and we live on a hill, and I don't want to have to purchase it on that hill. I'd like to have it right outside our side door, which is very easy. And I'd like to request too, I've got daughters that would like to help, and you know, I'd like them to be able to park this because they'll be taking me down to there and things, you know. And I do have papers from Dr. Duncan at Panorama for the placards for two in our car. So that's what I'm requesting. And the only issue is right where that would be, and I gave a picture to wonder, is right outside our side door. But there's been a car there for over 5 weeks. Haven't seen there's no indication about it moving. And I'm just a little concerned as the weather changes, you know. I'd really like to nail that spot down so that I'm not really, you know, when I'm doing and stuff. So that's
Well, I want you to know the photo was in the packet, and I think all of us realize how steep that road is. But does council have any questions? All right, well,
We had this situation before that you. All
I know we have. All right, well, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Joe.
I believe we might have registered your daughters already, but if they're not, it's a simple matter of just getting the plates in, so we can take care of it.
right. Their license plates, we have done that with parking, but I'm just saying I'd really like it to be a spot big enough for our car and another car during that time, and I'm, you know, limping around.
Well, thank you, and we certainly wish you the best on that as well. All right, next up, unscheduled public comment. I think I saw Lisa sign up. Thank you, Andy. All right, Lisa Manifold, welcome, and please come forward. And as usual, 3 minutes and,
Just go back and forth.
yeah, right, okay, all right.
Name and address for the record.
Bruce Manifold, 1002 Colorado Boulevard. I just wanted to, it's actually 2 comments. I wanted to say thank you to mayor and council and the city staff. I really appreciated that you all did a cease and desist last week with the school board. I know it's not easy in a small town to move things to a legal level, particularly because we all know each other and there's a lot of interaction when, you would not necessarily have a bigger town. So I thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the protection of our public utility resources because I was really alarmed by the intentions towards our water main. I also wanted to thank particularly the mayor for continuing to make the effort to work with the school board to find a better, and I'm biased, I freely admit it, I was on the CAT, full disclosure, to find a better option for the bus barn in a county that doesn't have a lot of flat space or a lot of space for group usage. The mayor came to a meeting that was really contentious with the school board and made a very earnest and good faith effort. And I really appreciate that. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
All right, thank you, Lisa. All right, that concludes the public comment. We don't have anything with liquor licensing authority tonight. So we will move to our finance officer with June finances.
Mayor and council, she is not, let me just make sure she's not here. She is not in the call.
Oh, all right. Then we will move to resolutions, beginning with resolution number 14. And do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. So do we need to change this to 2 persons?
Do you need to discuss?
You would like to amend?
Yeah, I think we need to amend it to read 2 parking spaces. If that's Miriam's request, which makes seems reasonable.
Well, is that
We need to
allowed?
change that. My question.
Just bear in mind that when the spot is designated handicap, it would require a vehicle parked in that spot to have a handicap placard or
Right.
place.
Yes.
So even if there are 2 spots there, it will only be for vehicles that have those placards.
Will it be on Colorado or on 13?
It'll be on their side door there.
13.
Yeah, you want to move the house on 13.
On 13.
Yeah, you walk up the side door, right?
Yeah.
to the car.
Well, I don't know if that's the case in this, right? If it's for her daughter, no, that's not.
She will have 2 placards.
Placards, yeah.
2 placards. So.
Well, so there'll be 2 spots on 13th then.
So they can help her in now.
Getting
and get in the car and all that stuff. Which I think it's gonna be complicated anyway, but that's why I was saying.
And then have, I'm sorry, we have discussion after.
So I'll change it to 2 spaces. Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution number 14, series 2023, resolution designated temporary handicap parking spaces at 1244 Carl Boulevard on the 13th Avenue side.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second from Kate. Discussion.
I just wonder how long did temporary last and then does it get reissued?
1 year, and they would have, you would need to come back and ask for, have it extended.
And then are we having to provide signage or blue paint on the curb? or-
So there'll be a handicap spot on the asphalt thing or sign.
I don't know about the paint for sure, but signage is clearly listed in the sign, in the parking plan for that handicap spot.
Yeah. If someone else has a handicap,
That's correct.
they can park
It's open to
there.
anybody who has handicap plates or
Yeah,
placard.
down because of the location.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. Moving to resolution number 15. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 15, series 2023, a resolution granting a limited exception from the conditions of the approval of the final development plan for Mighty Argo Phase 1 gondola at Virginia Canyon Park to allow the issuance of a building permit for a retaining building wall at the upper landing area prior to the satisfaction of all FDP conditions.
Thank you, Scott. Do I have a second? And a second from John. Any discussion?
To follow up on Kate's question, though, when you use the word exception, is it not give other people an opportunity to use this in their future development as an exception? They got it. It does, right?
Yeah, as long as it meets the conditions of the code and council in reasonable fashion, I would say. I think we would consider this for anyone. Yeah.
All right.
And I
Any-
think in helping a developer speed up their project would be something that we might want to allow, right? I mean, that's a possibility.
As long as we can do so safely and
Yeah.
without hazard, I think it meets the intention of the activity. Yeah, as long as we complete all the work.
But I think we look at these one at a time, if not any two that are the same, that are all individual.
I don't think that we know all of this one. All right, go ahead, you go.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. Moving to resolution number 16. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution number 16, series 2023, a resolution affirming the prior approval of the city's purchase of 1744 Minor Street.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
A second.
And a second from Art?
Again,
Any discussion? All right. Well, we're formalizing my resolution at the request of the town. So,
you need a blood thumbprint.
everybody. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, thank you. We will move to the administrator. We have two requests for action. And do I have a first one for the rehabilitation of City Hall? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve a proposal from Spectrum General Contractors in the amount of $396,917.71 for the exterior rehabilitation of City Hall, account number 21-61-7040. This work is expected to begin in the spring of 2024.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second? And second from John? Oh, from Jeremy. Okay, thank you. And any discussion?
We appropriate funds out of this year's budget for next year.
Carmen, can you help me with that question? So the question is, answer better than I can, but the question is, this is a fact that proposal, a bid that we're asking council to accept. But the city it would not begin work until spring of 24.
I apologize. You kind of cut in and out. So the question is, I'm sorry, state it again, Andy.
But we received bids on the rehabilitation of City Hall,
Yes.
and this low bid contractor that meets all the minimum expectations cannot start work until the spring of 24, and it's acceptable to staff, and we're asking council to approve that. And Councilmember Curtis is asking, is there any issue with this work being postponed to the spring, which is a new fiscal year, right?
Thank you. Sorry, I saw Chris shaking her head too. We have a little audio issue here on Zoom, but so thanks, Sandy, for restating it. No, sir. Right. If you can absolutely award that contract, if there is any work that is done in this fiscal year that is to be compensated from these funds, right, then they're available. And council, as you go into developing your 2024 budget, right, and you know if we need to appropriate these funds for this purpose again, to spend them again in that year, then we will do that. Good question, but because we're looking forward, right, to spending maybe and appropriating funds in a future year, there's not an issue if we plan for that and do that rather than looking backwards, right? So I think we're okay.
All right, thank you, Carmen. Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right, moving to the second one, which is a proposal for renovation of the restrooms here at City Hall. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve a proposal from Performance Construction in the amount of $87,218.77 for the renovation of the upstairs restrooms at City Hall, account number 21-61-7040.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second from Kate. Any discussion?
I do.
Yeah.
That seemed a little bit high. Well, now is that just travel time and no other bids or?
Andy, we were thinking that was gonna come in actually a
We
little
actually
higher.
budgeted 100,000.
Really?
Just based upon the way costs are going nowadays.
Location, obviously.
But also there is some other water features.
Yep, there'll be a water fill station and a drinking fountain, which used to be out there. but
So
actually-
they'll be moving, infrastructure around.
Well,
They will be.
and ADA compliance.
It's some accessibility issues, and also the doors to the bathrooms will be reoriented to face out, they face the side, now they'll face out, and there'll be a place for.
So there's a lot of change as
There
well.
are some structural changes.
Okay,
Yes.
I just, I built a huge bathroom for way less.
It only had one toilet though.
Now, I got a 6-foot jacuzzi tub in my shower, so.
Nice. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis. Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, by the way.
Well,
I would say Andy, thank you for that.
but no, it's a good question. So the Assistant City Administrator, Jonathan, you don't have anything further to share tonight?
That's it.
Okay. And Chief, we got your report. Excellent as usual. Anything further to share?
Just thank you, council, for your support with the new building. It's appreciated by the employees, and it's exciting to go forward.
Yeah, it's going to be some nice improvement.
Right.
And Public Works, we have one request for action. And do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the services of Stanton Construction Building Services LLC to provide probable construction cost analysis for indicating the Main Street project for the amount of $19,989 from line item 23-00-51.
Thank you, Jeremy. Do I have a second? And a second from Jamie. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mayor Chuck Harmon.
Yes.
Scott Pennell.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
Jeremy Jones.
Yes.
Art Cacavelli.
Yes.
Kate Collier.
Yes.
Jim Clark.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And Paul, you don't have anything further to share tonight?
No, I was just here if anybody had any questions about, why we thought this was necessary or anything, but
All right.
it does, then fine.
All right, well, thank you. Ed? Good report, and I want to say, especially on the wastewater side, the goals have just been exceeded, and I think we all should be very happy with that. With the way the testing's going.
Yeah, it's working great. Nice work, fellas.
All right, well, thank you. And the only thing, the last thing before we go into executive session, Wednesday, and that's this Wednesday from 11 until 1, there will be a retirement party for the county sheriff, and it will be in Georgetown at the county's building from 11 to 1 this Wednesday, if anybody would like to attend. I think it's 42 or 43 years, one or the other. 43, thank you, Jeremy. Years of service, so wanted to make everybody aware of that. And anything further before we adjourn?
What about this letter?
That's what I was gonna bring to you. We never brought that up at all. What's that?
The 4-page one about the water up there in Montaigne. Well, I think it's part of our packet. And this will be something we clearly are going to discuss at a work session. And we'll be talking extensively about this subject with Paul and some of the nuances, I should say, about this particular property. But it, in all fairness, it needed to be in your packet, so we're aware of this and we can take time to read it.
When we get a letter like this, do we have someone respond to it? City administrator or?
And I have in the past, and she'll be getting a good answer from us, but in all fairness, nobody would want to jump the gun because some of our action is going to be dependent on how council wants to manage this.
So we acknowledge the letter.
Yeah,
To the district.
yeah, acknowledgement, we received your letter.
Was she aware that it was in this week's packet then? I was just surprised.
And
it wasn't.
do you know if, or wonder, do you know if she's aware that it was in this packet?
Mayor and council, it is not in the packet. This was placed on the dais after it made after packet deadline, so this was just on the dais.
Okay,
It's
thank
not
you.
In the packet.
I previously had received it,
Right.
so I was aware of it. Okay.
So did she know that it was brought up or in?
Not that I know
No, okay.
Well,
of. It was titled to mayor and council. So it was put on your guys' table for you to be aware of what was happening and what.
So she'll be aware of it though, if we have a work session pertaining to this, then.
Correct.
Okay. So you do respond.
We will get back to it. Yes,
Cool.
let her know the status.
Good questions, Bill.
Yes, thank you. Anything further before we head into executive session? Yes, wonderful.
I just want to remind everybody, there's going to be some council seats up this coming election. Packets for petition pickup are available from me, 8 a.m. on August 8th, it's Tuesday. There are 2 seats open in Ward 1, 2 seats going to be open in Ward 2, and the treasurer is up. So I want that, that's why you have that on your dais also.
So Art and myself. Who else?
And John is.
John is up
Turned
and-
out. And then who? You? I don't think.
He was appointed.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
Thank you.
Yes,
Wonder
sure
that.
thing.
Good to know. Anything further?
Aaron, do you want to mention the piece of good news there from DOLA?
We were awarded a $1 million grant for the Highway 103 water line. And of course, Paul brought us in a little sample that Andy was showing off where it's just heavily pitted, just rotten to the core, at least in that section. And we've got a lot of challenges where it runs through very acidic soil. And we've got a lot of electrolytic corrosion, an iron pipe that should have lasted 80 or 100 years that is shot, in 40. So we, frankly, the citizens of Idaho Springs took a step in the right direction by voting in that 1 cent sales tax, which has to go to improve our water infrastructure and our wastewater. Because this is a ticking time bomb. We've had 4 emergency repairs in recent years. And right now we're projecting it to be about a $5 million project. So the $1 million grant is definitely a nice shot in the arm. And I want to thank Jonathan for all his work on that grant application. So, and by the way, $1 million was the most you could ask. And I should tell you, this presentation was allowed 15 minutes. And they had cities from all over Colorado going on for 3 days, every 15 minutes. So there was like 80 submissions. There wasn't enough money to go around. And they said Idaho Springs scored the second highest
Wow.
of all of the presentations, so.
I guess that's good for the presentation, that's.
Well, anything further? All right, we will go into executive session. We will call our regular session adjourned at 7:36.